All right, get ready, because today we're going deep on detachment.
Oh.
You know, how to let go of all the things that might be holding us back from, like, true happiness and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And to help us unpack all of this, we're going to be diving into the Thewizardliz's YouTube video called How to Detach from People and Situations.
I've seen that one.
Which, by the way, already has, like, insert number of views so clearly.
Wow.
This is something that a lot of people are thinking about these days.
Yeah, it's a popular one.
For sure.
For sure.
It really seems like so many of us are, like, craving a little more peace
Totally.
in our lives.
Inner peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Inner peace.
For sure.
So the video starts off with this really bold statement.
Okay.
Detachment equals freedom. And the Thewizardliz argues that the more we, like, cling to people or outcomes or even our own expectations,
right,
the less control we actually have over our own happiness. So I'm curious to get your take on this.
Sure.
Is it really possible to detach without becoming, I don't know, detached from, like
totally detached
life itself? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big question, right? Like, where's that line?
Right.
And that's where it gets, I think, kind of nuanced.
Okay.
Because the kind of detachment that the Thewizardliz is talking about in this video, it's not about, like, becoming emotionally numb or, like, isolating ourselves from other people.
Gotcha.
It's more about cultivating this flexible mindset that lets us, you know, kind of weather life's inevitable storms without being completely swept away. Okay.
So it's less about severing ties and more about maybe, like, loosening the grip.
Loosening the grip, exactly.
A little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
So think of it like this. Okay.
Imagine, like, a tree swaying in the wind.
Okay.
If its branches are all rigid and unyielding, they're probably more likely to snap. Right?
Under pressure,
Under pressure.
Oh, really?
But if they're flexible, they can, you know,
they bend
with the wind.
Yeah, they can kind of go with it.
And withstand even, like, the strongest gusts.
Right, exactly. If they're resilient.
Detachment is kind of like developing that inner flexibility.
I like that. That's a great analogy.
So that we can kind of adapt and thrive.
Yeah.
In the midst of all of life's changes.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really helpful way to think about it.
Now, one of the most interesting things I found in the video was this distinction that the Thewizardliz makes between ego and love. She argues that attachment comes from the ego, which operates from this place of lack, always looking for validation, security outside of ourselves.
Interesting.
True love, she said,
comes from a place of wholeness, recognizing the inherent worth in ourselves and in others.
Powerful stuff.
I'll admit, this is a little heady for me.
Sure.
Can you break that down a bit further?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think this is something that philosophers and psychologists have been grappling with for centuries, really.
Yeah.
But from, like, a psychological perspective, I think it's helpful to think of the ego as that part of us that craves external validation. It's always comparing, competing, striving for approval.
Right.
And so when we're driven by the ego, we tend to attach ourselves to things that we believe will make us feel worthy or complete.
So it's like we're trying to fill a void with external things.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Right.
That's exactly it. It's like we're trying to fill this void within ourselves with all these external things, relationships, achievements, possessions, all of that.
And so that's where that sense of lack comes in.
That's where the lack comes in, yeah. Because we're constantly seeking something outside of ourselves to make us feel whole.
Right.
Which can lead to, like, a never-ending cycle of craving and attachment.
It's like a hamster wheel.
It is. It really is.
You just keep running and running, and you never actually get anything.
You never get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're just stuck.
And so true love, as the Thewizardliz suggests, comes from this different place altogether.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our worthiness is inherent. It's not
contingent.
Contingent
on all these external factors.
External factors, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing our own value and the value of others without needing them to, like, fill that void for us.
Fill the void,
Right.
Without needing them to complete us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from that place of wholeness, then we can connect with others in a more authentic way.
In a more authentic and fulfilling way, yeah.
Without feeling the need to, like, possess them or control them.
I love that.
Right.
It's about appreciating them for who they are.
Yeah.
Without projecting all of our own, like, needs and insecurities onto them.
It's like we can love more freely when we're not, like, clinging to others out of this sense of, like, lack or insecurity.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
It's about coming from a place of wholeness and love.
Now, Thewizardliz also cautions against creating these fantasies about people and situations, which, let's face it, is so easy to do in today's world, right?
Especially with social media.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And all the curated images.
It's so easy to fall into that comparison trap.
Absolutely.
We're constantly measuring ourselves against...
like a never-ending cycle of comparison.
Other people's, like, carefully constructed online personas.
And the video calls this FOMO.
Yes.
You know? Fear of missing out.
Right.
And suggests that it's like a major driver of attachment and unhappiness.
For sure.
Is it really that insidious?
I mean, I don't know if I would say it's always insidious. Okay. But I think there's definitely a dark side to social media.
Okay.
That we need to be aware of. You know?
Yes.
I mean, research has shown that excessive social media use can be correlated with things like increased anxiety and depression.
Wow.
And even body image issues.
And it's not hard to see why.
Right.
When we're constantly bombarded with...
Yeah, you're constantly seeing...
these images of people living these seemingly perfect lives.
Yeah. Like everyone else has it all figured out.
Yeah.
You're the only one struggling.
Right.
Which, of course, we know is not true.
Right. But it feels that way.
But it can definitely feel that way.
When you're scrolling, it's like comparing our blooper reel.
Yes.
To everyone else's highlight reel.
Yeah, that is such a good way to put it.
Right.
I love that. The blooper reel versus the highlight reel.
And it's just a recipe for feeling like we're constantly...
coming up short.
Coming up short.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's where I think that ego that we were talking about earlier comes back into play.
Totally.
Because when our sense of worth is tied to external validation... social media becomes like a breeding ground.
Yes, it really does.
Security.
It preys on that insecurity.
Attachment.
Right. Because you become attached to the likes and the followers.
Yeah.
And you're constantly seeking that next hit of dopamine. That makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, that little validation.
Even if it's fleeting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fleeting.
So how do we break free from this cycle?
That's the question.
Especially in a world where it feels like we're constantly being encouraged to compare.
Yeah, it's like it's built into
and compete.
The system almost.
Right, I know. The system, yeah.
What are some practical steps that listeners can take?
Yeah, that's a great question.
To cultivate detachment in the age of social media?
Well, I think for starters, it's important to just remember social media is a carefully curated version of reality.
So we need to keep in mind that we're only seeing...
a fraction of the story.
A fraction of the story.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's often, you know, a highly idealized and edited version of the story.
Totally.
So the next time you find yourself scrolling through your feed and you're feeling envious or inadequate, just remind yourself you're only seeing this tiny little sliver of someone else's life.
It's like comparing our behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's, like, carefully edited movie trailer.
Exactly. It's like the highlight reel all over again.
Yeah.
It's the highlight reel. And another powerful strategy, I think, is mindfulness.
Oh, mindfulness is huge.
Yeah. Because by bringing our attention to the present moment, we can shift our focus away from, like...
Right. All those anxieties.
All those anxieties about the future.
About the future.
Or regrets about the past.
Yeah, which social media can often trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
So engage your senses. Appreciate the simple things. Practice gratitude for what you have right now.
Yes, gratitude is so powerful.
So it's about consciously choosing to focus on our own lives and experiences.
In your own lane.
Rather than getting caught up in... you know, the curated lives of others.
Exactly. And that shift in focus can be so liberating.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to step out of that comparison game.
Get off that hamster wheel.
And start appreciating your own unique journey.
Yeah. And speaking of that hamster wheel, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, which is this idea that attachment stems from a place of lack.
Right.
Right? And the video argues that lasting happiness comes from within, not from external
things,
achievements or possessions.
It's an inside job.
It's a message that we hear a lot.
Yeah, it's a popular message.
These days.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done, right?
Oh, for sure.
So how do we actually cultivate that inner sense of peace and contentment when it feels like the world around us is constantly telling us that we need
more. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like the paradox of modern life, right?
Yeah.
Because we live in a culture that equates happiness with acquisition, achievement, all those external things.
Right.
But true happiness, the kind that lasts, is an inside job.
So we could have all the stuff in the world.
You could have it all.
But if we haven't cultivated that inner sense of peace and self-worth.
If you haven't done that inner work.
We're still going to feel empty.
You're going to feel empty. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not about the stuff.
And this is where I think detachment comes in.
This is where detachment comes in,
Because by releasing our attachment to external validation and material possessions.
Letting go of that need.
We create space.
True happiness.
For that true happiness to flourish.
Exactly.
It's like we're clearing out the clutter.
I love that.
To make room for what really matters.
To make room for what matters,
Right.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it.
And that's actually a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive.
Great.
Where we'll explore the Thewizardliz's kind of radical suggestion for dealing with social media FOMO.
All right. I'm intrigued.
And delve a little deeper into this concept of soul contracts.
I can't wait.
So stay with us. Yes, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
So
before the break, we were talking about how that constant comparison game on social media can really fuel those feelings of inadequacy and attachment.
Totally.
And the Thewizardliz suggests a pretty bold solution. Limiting our social media consumption. She even admits to, like, rarely checking other people's posts. So is a social media detox the answer?
A full-on detox. That sounds a little extreme.
Yeah, it might be for some.
Even for me.
Yeah.
But I know the downsides.
But I think for some people it could be really beneficial.
Okay.
Especially those who are finding themselves constantly comparing themselves and feeling anxious.
Right.
But for others, it's more about, like, being more mindful about how we engage with those platforms.
So are we using them to connect?
Yeah, like, are you using it to genuinely connect?
Authentically.
Yeah, authentically with people.
Yeah.
Or are you just using it to, like, seek validation?
To get those likes.
Yeah. And, like, are you feeling inspired by what you're seeing?
Yeah.
Or are you feeling drained?
Right.
You know, asking those questions can help create those healthier boundaries.
So it's more about being intentional.
Yes, intentionality is key.
With our usage. Rather than just completely...
It's not black and white.
Cutting it off.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Because social media can be a powerful tool, right?
Absolutely.
For connection.
Connection, for learning.
Yeah.
Even for, like, building businesses these days.
For sure.
It's incredible.
But it can also become a trap.
But it can definitely be a trap.
Yeah.
If we're not careful.
If we're not mindful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing when it's adding value to your life versus when it's, like, subtracting from it.
Draining you.
Yeah, draining you.
And speaking of recognizing things, that might be holding us back. The Thewizardliz also talks about letting go of past experiences. She even shares this story about, like, clinging to a past relationship because it felt comfortable.
Right, familiar.
Even though she knew it wasn't really serving her anymore.
I think we've all been there.
Why do we do that?
Why do we hold on?
Yeah, like, why do we hold on to these things even when we know they're not good for us?
I think it's because, you know, we humans are creatures of habit.
Okay.
We crave that familiarity.
Yeah.
Even if it comes with a little bit of pain.
Right.
Sometimes it feels safer to stay in the known situation.
Right. Even if it's not.
Even if it's not healthy.
A good situation.
Right. Exactly.
It's like we'd rather stay in that comfortable rut.
Yeah, that comfortable rut.
Than risk, like, falling off a cliff.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Oh, totally.
The comfortable rut versus the cliff.
But if clinging to the past is keeping us stuck, how do we break free?
How do we break free? That's the question.
From those comfortable but ultimately limiting patterns?
Yeah. I think the first step is awareness.
Okay.
Recognizing those areas where you're like holding on to something that's no longer serving you.
Right.
It could be a past relationship.
Yeah.
A grudge that you're holding. A limiting belief.
Right.
Even an old version of yourself.
Totally.
That you've like outgrown.
Yeah.
You know?
That kind of self-reflection can be tough, though.
It can be really tough.
Especially if we've been clinging to something.
Especially if you've been holding on for a while.
For a long time.
Yeah.
But let's say we've identified something we need to let go of.
Okay, so you've identified it.
What comes next?
Then it becomes about making a conscious choice.
Okay.
To release its grip on you. So we're not...
You're not forgetting the past.
Pretending it didn't happen?
No, you're not pretending it didn't happen.
We're acknowledging
You're acknowledging it, but then choosing to move forward.
Choosing to move forward.
Without letting it define us.
Without letting it define you, yes.
This sounds a lot like the concept of acceptance.
Acceptance.
That the Wizardliz talks about in the video.
Yeah.
She emphasizes accepting reality.
Yes.
For what it is.
That it is.
Rather than trying to force things.
Right. Trying to control it.
To fit our expectations.
Our expectations.
Is that a key part of detachment as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the more we resist reality, the more we suffer.
Right.
It's when we try to, like, control everything.
Yeah.
And force those outcomes.
Right.
That we set ourselves up for disappointment.
Because life is unpredictable.
Because life is unpredictable. Exactly. Yeah. You can't control it all.
We can't control it all.
No.
So it's about surrendering to the flow of life a little.
Surrendering to the flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And surrendering doesn't mean, like, becoming passive or giving up on your goals.
Right.
It's about recognizing that you can't control everything.
Yeah.
And finding peace with that.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on what you can control.
What we can control.
Like your actions, your attitude, your responses to things.
Okay.
And then trusting that. Like, the rest will fall into place.
This reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about finding that, like, sweet spot.
Yeah, that balance between
effort
and surrender.
Yeah. Where we can still strive.
You can still go after those goals.
Or the things we want.
Yeah, but you're not.
But without attaching our happiness.
Attaching your happiness to the outcome.
Or our self-worth.
Or your worthiness.
To the outcome.
Yeah, you're not making it conditional.
Right.
On whether or not you achieve it.
Now, one of the most, I thought, intriguing concepts in the video was this idea of soul contracts.
Soul contracts, okay.
Where she suggests that relationships, even the challenging ones,
are
like soul contracts.
Okay.
Designed to teach us and help us evolve.
That's deep.
It's a pretty profound idea.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fascinating perspective. And I think it resonates with a lot of, like, different wisdom traditions.
Right.
And while it might not, you know, align with everyone's beliefs,
of course,
I think there's something powerful about considering that every relationship, even the ones that bring us pain, can serve a higher purpose.
So instead of viewing challenging relationships as
like failures
or setbacks
or mistakes,
we can see them as opportunities for growth.
Opportunities for growth, exactly.
Yeah.
Because every interaction we have, every connection we make, can teach us something valuable about ourselves, about others, about the human experience.
And so even those relationships,
even the ones that
don't last forever,
or
the ones that
bring us pain,
heartbreak,
those can offer really profound lessons about our patterns, our boundaries, our needs.
So even a difficult relationship
could
be a catalyst
for growth,
for incredible personal growth.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, it might force you to confront your shadows, set healthier boundaries, develop greater self-awareness. It might teach you about compassion, forgiveness, or the importance of letting go.
It's about finding the meaning.
Yeah, finding the meaning
in those experiences.
Exactly. Even if they initially
seem like setbacks.
Yeah, seem like setbacks or mistakes.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that those relationships, even if they don't last, can leave an indelible mark on us.
Wow.
You know, shaping us into the people we are meant to become.
And that brings to mind one of the most powerful messages in the video, which is that reminder that we're
never truly alone.
Never truly alone. Even when relationships end.
Even when relationships
or circumstances change.
Or things change.
We always have.
You always have yourself.
Ourselves. Yeah. And that is so crucial.
It's so crucial.
Because that relationship with ourselves.
The relationship with yourself
is the most important one.
It's the most important one. Yeah.
We'll ever have.
You got it.
And so cultivating that self-love.
Yeah. Self-love is key.
And that sense of inner security means that even when external things are shifting.
Or things are changing around you.
And changing.
Yeah.
We have a solid foundation.
You have that solid foundation to stand on.
To stand on.
And you know that your worthiness comes from within.
Not from external validation.
Not from those external things.
Or the presence of others.
Or other people.
Yeah. That makes me wonder, how can we cultivate?
How can we cultivate that?
That deep sense of self-love and inner security that allows us to, like, embrace being alone.
To be alone without feeling lonely.
Without feeling lonely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful question.
Yeah.
And it leads us perfectly into the final part of our deep dive.
Right.
Where we'll explore some practical strategies for nurturing that essential relationship with ourselves.
Okay.
And embracing the freedom that comes with true detachment.
I love it.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, listeners. We've been on quite a journey exploring this whole idea of detachment. And honestly, I'm already feeling a shift in my own perspective.
That's great to hear.
But before we wrap up, there's this one last piece from the Thewizardliz's video that I keep thinking about.
Okay.
And that's the idea of abundance.
Ah, yes, abundance.
She talks about recognizing the abundance that's already present in our lives and trusting that, the universe is kind of conspiring in our favor.
Like it's got our back.
Yeah, exactly. So how does this idea of abundance tie into detachment?
I think it's all about a shift in mindset, really.
Okay.
When we're coming from a scarcity mentality, it's so easy to get attached to things.
Yeah, because we're afraid of losing them, right?
Exactly. We're afraid there's not enough to go around.
We're clinging to relationships, possessions, even like specific outcomes, all because
we're afraid of losing what we have or not getting what we think we need.
Right. Like that constant feeling of needing more, never really being satisfied.
Yes. It's that nagging sense of lack that drives so much of our behavior.
And that can be exhausting.
It really can.
Yeah.
But the abundance mindset, that's rooted in the belief that there's actually more than enough for everyone.
Okay.
Enough love, enough joy, resources, opportunities.
Okay, I like that.
It's about recognizing that life is inherently rich and trusting that we're supported, that we're taken care of.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
It is.
But how do we actually make that shift?
How do we go from scarcity to abundance? Especially when we've been, kind of conditioned to think we need to be striving for more all the time. It's a process for sure, but I think it starts with gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah. Taking time every single day to acknowledge and appreciate all the good things.
So like the simple things too.
Oh, absolutely. Those are often the most powerful.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like just that first sip of coffee in the morning, or that moment when you see a beautiful sunset. Even just feeling grateful for the people in your life.
So it's about focusing on what we do have rather than always looking at what we don't have.
You got it.
Oh, okay. I can see how that could start to shift things.
And as we do that, as we cultivate gratitude, we naturally start to see the world differently. Like we start to recognize that abundance is all around us.
I love that. And it sounds like this shift from scarcity to abundance also plays a big part in cultivating self-love. Which, we talked about earlier, how important that is for feeling secure and whole within ourselves.
Absolutely. When we embrace an abundance mindset, we begin to see ourselves as inherently worthy.
Worthy of love, worthy of joy, worthy of fulfillment.
Yes, all of that. We don't need to keep proving ourselves or seeking validation from outside sources.
Yeah, because we already recognize our own value. We're enough.
Exactly.
And from that place of self-acceptance and abundance,
we can show up differently.
We can approach our relationships, the challenges, even like life itself.
With this sense of ease and grace.
And I think that takes us back to the heart of this whole idea of detachment, right?
It does.
Letting go of what's not serving us, embracing the present moment, and trusting that we are supported, that we are provided for.
Beautifully said. It's about loosening the grip, remembering that we're already whole and complete, and having faith that the universe has our back.
Yeah. And I think that's such a powerful reminder, especially in the world we live in today.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into detachment. I really think we all gained some valuable insights today.
It was my pleasure. These conversations are always so enriching.
And to everyone listening, I encourage you to take what resonated with you today and, keep exploring these ideas. Think about those beliefs or attachments that might be holding you back. What are some small steps you can take to cultivate more detachment, more self-love, more inner peace? Remember, the journey continues, and we're all in this together. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.